Hello and welcome to the Rob Burgess Show. I'm of course your host, Rob Burgess. On this, our 295th episode, our returning guest is me. I had done around 24 previous solo episodes of this podcast. For a complete list, check the show notes. I am a 45-time award-winning journalist whose work has appeared in print, radio, online, and television. I am currently a reporter for Financial Planning magazine. Most recently, I was technology reporter for Wealth Management magazine, editor of the Wabash Plain Dealer, news editor of Nuvo, managing editor of the Indiana Lawyer, and city editor, opinion page editor, and editorial board member of the Kokomo Tribune. I was also a reporter at WFHB, the Times Mail, the Reporter Times, Ukiah Daily Journal, and Ukiah Valley Television. Oh yeah, and I'm also the proprietor of the podcast, The Rob Burgess Show. And now, on to the show. Hello, welcome to The Rob Burgess Show, 10th Anniversary Edition. It's me, it's Rob Burgess, your host. It's March 11th, 2026. Exactly 10 years ago today, March 11th, 2016. The very first episode of The Rob Burgess Show came out with regular guest Sean Spicer leading us off. I couldn't let the occasion pass without marking it somehow. Right now I am in a hotel room in New Orleans. It is 11:50 p.m. Central Time. So I still made it just under the wire recording this on the 10th anniversary. Feels really good. I'm very happy with the work that I've done. Very proud. You know, before I started this podcast, I listened to a lot of podcasts first, and I always thought that I could do something really good because I enjoy the medium and I know what I like, and why not me? And I did experiment a little bit with making my own audio. Of course, I was a DJ, volunteer programmer at WFHB in Bloomington, Indiana during my college and slightly after college life. That was not recorded for the most part. I have a couple recordings of those that I saved, but yeah, not anywhere on the same scale as what I've done here with this. A few years after that, I did a couple of episodes of a podcast that I called Robcast, and that was me and other people I knew reading stories, short stories that they wrote. That one didn't really last, but it kind of gave me the idea of wanting to do a podcast in the first place. I have those saved on the Internet Archive, and you can go listen to them, I guess. I wouldn't say they're very good, but it was a first attempt. It was okay. And this all kind of started in earnest because when I was the city editor, opinion page editor, and editorial board member at the Kokomo Tribune, which is the job I had when this started, my editor at the time had said that we could write a proposal to the corporate office for some equipment if we had an idea of a project that we wanted to do. And I had, at the time, a very long commute every day, just under an hour each way, from Noblesville to Kokomo, where I was working. And I would fill that time, usually, by listening to podcasts. And so I was very interested in the format, and I thought I could do a good one, like I said. And so I wrote up a proposal and tried to figure out what equipment I would need to start a podcast for the newspaper. And I worked really hard on it, and then at the last minute, my editor was just like, yeah, I'm not going to submit this. This is not going to work. I don't see this. I don't see what you're talking about. And that was frustrating because I wanted to do it and I spent a lot of time on it, and it was something that I had been asked if I wanted to, write something to support, and it didn't end up working out. So I still had the idea, and I kind of went into it with the idea of no one will be able to tell me no to this, because it'll be mine, and I'll do it exactly the way I want to do it, and I'll talk to whoever about whatever, and I'm going to make it as high quality as I can. Of course, I didn't have the larger budget that I might have had if there was a corporate sponsor, so I was working with pretty bare bones materials. I still am in a lot of ways, but I have improved somewhat. So all I really started with was a recorder that I had gotten from actually a regular guest, Josh Sigler, who also worked at the newspaper with me at the time. He was a reporter there as well. So he had given me the recorder that I still have and I actually use today. So I know it's over 10 years old at this point, which is kind of amazing that it's still working. But anyway, I had that. So I had a digital recorder, and I had a wiretap, meaning that it was a splitter that I could plug into the recorder, and the other end would go into a landline phone. And so I had that, and so I got a landline at my apartment for no other reason really than to call people on the phone, on the landline phone, and record the podcast that way. And so if you go back and listen to, I don't remember when I switched over from this, it was a little while. It had to have been, yeah, it was actually a few episodes. Could have been like the first 100 maybe or so. Anyway, those were, unless I was like in the room with somebody, which was not usually the case. It still isn't usually the case, but if I was recording on the computer, or rather, sorry, if I wasn't talking to someone face to face, then I was doing it over the landline phone. So the audio was not great to begin with because I was recording on a landline phone. Oftentimes in that case, my breathing would come across much clearer because the receiver would be right next to my mouth. And also, I think it was louder than the person I was talking to a lot of the times as well. So the audio was fairly rough, but I was working with what I had to work with. I didn't have the professional setup. And so I recorded that way for a long time, and eventually had figured out that I could use Skype, which I had used previously, but I started using it for the phone, what I was using the phone for. So eventually I dropped the landline and I stopped recording that way. So I recorded over Skype usually until, of course, that ended last year, sadly, for no reason. I'm still mad at you, Microsoft. Can't believe you paid billions of dollars for something you were just going to sunset later. Anyhow, I eventually switched to the computer, but I still like those early episodes actually a lot. There was one episode early on that was only made possible by the fact that I had a landline phone, in that there was a phone number that you could call, and you could call random people in Sweden. And that was one of the early episodes. And that was made possible by the fact that I had a landline phone that I could use to call with for the episode. So that was fun. I remember regular guest Jonathan Fowler used to have to use calling cards to call me on the landline phone. Thankfully, we've moved past that. But yeah, that was kind of the early incarnation of the Rob Burgess Show. I've always meant for this show to be weekly, but I have not been able to keep up that pace. It's aspirationally weekly. I think in reality probably more, at times closer to monthly, at times closer to bi-weekly. Which bi-weekly is a weird word. It can mean twice a week or every 2 weeks. So doesn't seem that super useful as a word. Every 2 weeks is what I mean by that. I would love to do this every week, but I, have other things going on in my life, of course. But anyhow, I've done almost 300 episodes of the Rob Burgess Show. I'm incredibly proud of all of them. I have put so much work into this, and I feel like they stand up, to the test of time, and I think you could find value in pretty much every episode, no matter when you listen to it. That was kind of always my intent, is I'm going to make this so dense with, verified facts, original audio clips, especially when Jonathan and I would talk about politics. We could talk about the, presidential debates, and then, I'd have the clip playing from the actual debate. We'd be discussing it. Those are historical documents at this point, as far as I'm concerned. We've covered a large swath of American history. We started in early 2016, spring 2016. Trump had not been elected yet. And we've basically covered the entirety of that experience in audio form. And I don't think it's an overstatement to say that future historians will look back on primary sources like the Rob Burgess Show for, guidance on what people were thinking at the time, honestly. That sounds a little grandiose, but I stand by those episodes, and I feel like no matter when you listen to them, that you can find value in them, because I always, was kind of thinking of the future listener. I started the Substack that I've been doing and enjoying later. I think it was about 2 years ago that I started that, maybe. Yeah, so that's more like I'll make an announcement on Substack when I have a new episode, but honestly, I don't even really expect people to listen the second it comes out, even though I do try to be topical with, the guests I choose and the subjects we cover. But, I do have an eye on the future and building something really solid that's going to kind of build upon itself. And, in the meantime, I've had some absolutely amazing guests. I am so proud of the guests I've been able to get. It's just amazing that people have given their time to talk to me. And I don't tell them what I'm going to talk about ahead of time either. I just make up the list of questions, or sometimes I don't have a list at all. We just go. And I feel so fortunate that they've taken the time to speak with me. And I just want to say thank you for listening. Obviously, if you're hearing this now, you've listened to at least some of the Rob Burgess Show. I obviously want people to hear it, otherwise I wouldn't publish it. That's all I really wanted to say. I just wanted to mark the occasion somehow. And I've got more great episodes ahead, so keep listening. I'll talk to you soon.